What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a standard deck centered around Leafeon-GX and Lurantis, and Leafeon is from Ultra Prism. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys liked this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton, and lets us do more for you guys. And also, if you are new to this channel, we have a TTM Discord with the link down below, which we would love for you to come and join. TTM is a collaborative channel where we have TCG content, which you guys are obviously here for if you're watching this video, but also we have draft format with particularly Jolt from the GBA, the coach of the Kansas City Giraffe Chiefs, but also myself and Crobat for the win, posting draft content as well. So if you're interested in any of that, please consider subscribing. And also, if you just want to come and talk to us, talk to other enthusiasts of the TCG or draft format, feel free to jump into our Discord server with the link down below, like I said. Now, as for the question of the day, Leafeon is an evolution, and so obviously I have to try to do a question based on evolutions, and that would be, what type of evolution do you want to be next? And also, if you are the creative type, go ahead and give it a name. As for me, there are two types of Eevee that I would like to see next. I want to see a fighting type Eevee, and I also want to see a dragon type Eevee, just because I think that would be absolutely sick. And as for the dragon type Eevee, so don't get mad at me for this name, or don't make fun of me too much. Actually, you know what? Go ahead, make fun of me all you want for it. But I think something along the lines of like Wyverion, where like it's a wyvern but it's an evolution. I think that would be really, really cool. And then with the evolutions, like 130, 110 stat distribution, if you put those in the right places, I think that a dragon type Eevee would be absolutely terrifying to go up against. And then as for the fighting Eevee, now this, I honestly want to see it have this name, simply because that means that Game Freak has just given up on creativity, and I want that evolution for a fighting type to be named Puncheon. Now I know that is an atrocious name, that's just such a lazy name, but I want that to be the name of the fighting type evolution for no other reason than I would just be picturing somebody holding a beer in Game Freak saying, hey, you know what? Let's name an evolution Puncheon. Just like absolutely trashed out of his mind. Like that's just something that Game Freak would just be like, wait, how did that get through, that type of thing? So, and that's what I'd want to see the fighting evolution named, and that's what I would want to see a dragon evolution named. So let me know, what type of evolution do you want to see next? And also, what do you want its name to be if you are, if you so choose. But anyway, onto the deck. Like I said, it is centered around Leafeon-GX, and I've been seeing a bunch of different Leafeon versions, like Leafeon and Zoroark in particular, and while I think that is a much better version of this deck, I wanted to try to do something a little bit different. And yes, I know people have already been doing Eevee and Lurantis for a while, but I'm just trying to do my own spin on it without using Zoroark, because Zoroark is literally everywhere in the meta right now. So I'm just going straight Leafeon and Lurantis. Yes, this deck does auto-lose to Volcanion, but it is still a fun deck to play nonetheless. Now Leafeon, 200 HP, so it's bulky. It's not particularly bulky, but it's just bulky enough. With the Breath of the Leaves ability, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, during your turn, you may heal 50 damage from one of your Pokemon that has any energy attached to it. So you know where this is going. Basically, if you can just cycle Leafeons, you can heal up to 100 damage per turn. Even more if you run things like, if you Guzma into a Float Stone, you can get up to 150. But normally, you're healing 50, 100 if you're feeling like a little bit of an overachiever. And then Solar Beam does 110 for a DCE and a regular energy, and you're able to boost that up with the promo Lurantis' Sunny Day, where the attacks of your fire and grass Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active. If you have 3 Lurantis' in play and a Choice Band, suddenly Solar Beam's hitting for 200 damage and taking one-shots on certain things, so that's kind of what the goal of this deck is. And then with the Grand Bloom GX, for each of your benched basic Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from that Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon to evolve them. Then shuffle your deck. Basically, this is just a way of getting an immediate board setup. this deck does actually not mind going second, because if you're able to start Eevee and get a couple Fomantis on board, like if you start with an Eevee, get a Grass Energy, and then 3 Fomantis on board, you can immediately get a deck, or a setup, of a Leafeon as well as 3 Promo Lurantis, and you're threatening 170 on your second turn. That is absolutely insane. So this is a very strong GX attack for a setup heavy deck, and that's, I mean, honestly, it's one of the more insane GX attacks that I've seen, because if this was not limited to just grass type, well, I mean, like, technically you can use it in any deck, but you have to have grass type energy in order to be able to use that. If it were on a basic Pokemon, like a basic GX, I think that would be one of the most busted GX attacks ever, just because you can get an immediate board set up on turn 1 for 1 energy. Like, that is such an insane GX attack that I'm very excited to use. So as for the numbers of Pokemon, 4-3 of Eevee and Leafeon-GX, and by the way, you have to use this Eevee because of Energy Evolution, being able to get a Leafeon first turn. That's part of the magic of it. And then only 3 Leafeon, because if your opponent knocks out 3 Leafeon, you lose anyway, so that's why there's only 3. 1 Oranguru. Oh, by the way, there's more Eevee than Leafeon, just to increase your odds of being able to start with Eevee. That's why that's there. 1 Oranguru for Instruct. Just have that as an option of a last bench slot, be able to play that down and just draw into cards. Like, it's Oranguru or Lele, you kind of use one or the other just depending on the situation. Oranguru just gives you options of what you kind of want to use, a little bit more consistency late game, decrease your odds of getting screwed over by N, that type of thing. And then 4 Fomantis, and then 4 Promo Lurantis, and 1 copy of Lurantis-GX. Oh, by the way, Oranguru does give you a way around things like Ninetales and Hoopa, although regular Promo Lurantis does that as well. This is just a more efficient way of doing that, in my opinion. Actually, you know what? No, forget I said that, because Promo Lurantis, both of them need 3 energy, and Promo Lurantis immediately hits for 100 and then 120 for a one-hit knockout if you have 2 Lurantis in play. But we are running 1 copy of Lurantis-GX for Flower Supply to be able to just accelerate energy from the discard pile if we need it. Now, I will be honest, I have not used Lurantis-GX a single time testing this deck, but I just feel like there's going to be a situation where I would like to use it, to where I would like to keep it in this deck. However, if you so choose, you can add another of the Promo Lurantises to be able to Sunny Day and able to hit for 190 and 220, both of which are pretty significant numbers in the game. So if you decide to get rid of the Lurantis-GX, I would add another Lurantis Promo just to be able to hit for those numbers. And finally, 2 Lele, because Brigette is such a crucial part of this deck's turn 1 setup, be able to get a bunch of basics out and then evolve them with Leafeon. That's like, Lele into Brigette is the perfect turn 1 for this deck. Running 2 Field Blower because Choice Bands and Garbodor is annoying. 2 Rescue Stretcher in order to recur our Pokemon. 1 Switch just to kind of do what I was talking about earlier, get a couple of the Breath of the Leaves in the same turn, be able to get 1 or 2 depending on what you're going for. 4 Ultra Ball to guaranteed get what we want when we want. As for the supporters, still trying to figure out how Cynthia fits in with N and Sycamore, but for the time being, I kind of like this line of 4-3-3 of Cynthia, N, and Sycamore, especially in decks that don't like to discard as much. Cynthia, while it gives you 1 less card than Sycamore, it is still Shuffle Draw. So that's why I like to have Cynthia there, just as a better option if you don't want to discard the cards in your hand, but at the same time, N and Sycamore are very powerful in their own right, so that's why I'm still running 3 of them. Just basically make sure that you have a bunch of draw support when you need it. 4 Guzma, absolute max number, because not only do we like the catcher effect, but the switching effect in this deck is very, very strong as well to get more Leafeon abilities going. And 2 Brigette, because Brigette is such a crucial part of this deck. I know that I usually only run 1 Brigette in decks like this, but because getting that 3 Fomantises or the 2 Fomantises and Eevee out turn 1 is so crucial to this deck, being able to have that Brigette and not have it prized is worth running an extra Brigette in the deck. Now, as for the tools, You have 3 Choice Band and 3 Float Stone. 3 Choice Band to boost the damage output, 3 Float Stone because Lurantis is 2 retreat cost, which we do not want to have to pay with a DCE, so that's why there's Float Stone. 4 DCE because Leafeon functions off of them, and then 7 Grass Energy to be able to Energy Evolve immediately and be likely to have that in our hand. So yeah, that is the deck, and let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Kuroru Rushi, Kuoro Rushi. Sorry, I can't talk right now. With forgot what it was. Was it like a water, psychic, and lightning deck, I'm thinking? Well, either way, we are going to get to go first, and we start off with probably the best hand we could ask for. Because I get an Eevee, get a Grass Energy, I get a Brigette, have a supporter, have another draw supporter, have a DCE. I mean, basically, this is pretty much everything I could want out of an opening hand. Like, I really don't think there's a whole lot more I would want out of this hand. I mean, maybe, well, I guess instead of N and a Float Stone, maybe 2 Lurantises, but, I mean, this hand is amazing. Like, straight up, this hand is just amazing, and I definitely will be able to work with it and get off to a good start. And it looks like we're up against a Kingdra Starmie deck, which, honestly, because of our type advantage, we should just run through. And I could... You know what? I'm just going to go for 3 Lurantises, or 3 Fomantises, sorry. And then let's go ahead and play the energy onto Eevee in order to be able to energy evolve into a Leafeon. And yeah, here we go. So that's going to be it for my first turn. I even top deck a Sycamore, which means I can just discard all of these cards and get a fresh hand of 7. So this is absolutely perfect for me. I mean, I really don't think there's... I mean, I know that there's not a whole lot I would rather have, apart from, you know, having 3 Lurantises as the Cynthia and Float Stone. But I mean, even so, I still have the Float Stone that I can play if my opponent tries to stall with Guzma or something to that effect. I mean, basically, I'm just going to have a perfect start. And my opponent is going to go ahead and Lele into a Sycamore, which means it's a good play. I mean, that's the correct play. And if my opponent, and if I had a Guzma, I would bring up that Horsey that's on the bench that has the energy on it and just go ahead and knock that thing out. I'm really in no rush to get my Lurantises up and going because I'm going to be hitting for super effective damage anyway in the knockout. But unfortunately, we do not get the Guzma, so I'm going to go ahead and Field Blower, get rid of the Brooklet Hill and the Choice Band off of Horsey. Okay, come on, there we go. Alright, I was having trouble clicking it for a second. DCE up the Leafeon, Float Stone up the Fomantis. And then let's just Sycamore. Gets rid of 2 other supporters, but I mean 7 cards is 7 cards. And I even top deck into a Fomantis. Or a Lurantis. Man, I just... No matter what I do, I just keep getting those wrong. And unfortunately, we do not get a supporter. But I mean, that's not really too big of a deal because I'm going to be taking knockouts and getting prizes anyway. The only time it'll matter is if my opponent ends up getting... I mean, if he brings up Lele and has a DCE, then that's a problem. But if I can just get 2 more Lurantises out, I'll be able to one-shot Lele, which will be absolutely perfect. Or I can just straight up go for the play of going for the GX attack to evolve everything that's on my bench, which I might do. There's no sense in putting damage on this Lele if I'm going to be able to... Like, if I'm going to be able to one-shot it the next turn. So, I mean, I might as well have all that damage on board, as opposed to just kind of 2-shot and not put myself in as amazing of a spot. I mean, I'm still going to be in an amazing spot regardless of what I do. But in this instance, I think it would be better just to set myself up to take Okos on the Tapu Lele's, as opposed to try to 2-shot this one and potentially not get myself in that position for later. So that's what I'm definitely going to try to do this upcoming turn. My opponent doesn't have a whole lot going. I mean, he had to put up the Lele because it was going to be... Because otherwise I was going to get a prize on something. And now he's got the Starmie, which is fine for getting energy in play, and then he's still... My opponent took that long of a turn and still hadn't played his supporter. Wow. But regardless, my opponent does play interesting. Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense with Tapu Koko. So my opponent was clearly fishing for that DCE, which he did end up getting. An Energy Drive is going to do quite a bit to my Leafeon. But what I can do... Oh, I even top deck into a Cynthia. That's fantastic. So let's Ultra Ball get rid of the Field Blower and this Leafeon in order to grab probably just an Eevee so I can get another Leafeon in play with my GX attack. Okay, there are 2 other Lurantises in the deck. That's what I was checking for, so let's play that there. Go ahead and Float Stone up one of my Luranti. And then Rescue Stretcher, let's go ahead and just shuffle the Leafeon back into the deck. And do I want it? You know what? I'm not going to risk... Actually, you know what? No. First things first, let's heal the damage off of Leafeon. Play the energy onto Eevee, and then I think I'm just going to go ahead and Cynthia. I mean, if I draw into them, I can immediately play them. But if I don't, which is the case right here, I can just go ahead and Grand Bloom GX in order to evolve everything, which I think is going to be my play. It's just a matter of, I think I want... Do I want another Eevee? You know what? Let's just go ahead and play another Eevee, because I do have 2 Leafeon in the deck. I know that for a fact. So let's just go ahead and go ahead and get that Fomantis into Lurantis, get the second one into Lurantis, and I'm going to get 4 evolutions in 1 turn. That's going to be 3 Leafeon and 3 Lurantises all on the field at the same time. Man, that's such a busted GX attack. That's insane. I love that. But yeah, now my board is pretty darn incredible. I mean, I have Leafeon, which admittedly is going to get hurt. My opponent plays another Field Blower, so there goes his last Field Blower. If I get another, he won't be able to knock me out. Will he be able to knock me out? If he gets another DCE, then that would be 140. It would just be short of the knockout. So he needs a DCE and a Choice Band in order to get the knockout on my Leafeon. And I even draw into a better hand than I had, so thank you for that N. That puts me in a much better spot, because what I can do this upcoming turn is attach a Float Stone to my active Leafeon, and then heal up 50 damage from it, and then he does just get the regular energy, so that's not too big of a deal, as I will be able to heal off 100 damage from this Leafeon. So first things first, let's play the energy there. Breath of the Leaves to heal 70 or 50 damage off of this Leafeon. Attach the Float Stone, and then retreat into my other Leafeon that is powered up. Go ahead and Breath of the Leaves once again. Let's just go ahead and Ultra Ball. I mean, I don't think I'm going to need the DCE anymore to just thin out the deck a little bit. Let's grab the Fomantis, because I don't need it at all at this point. Sycamore away that, and potentially draw into something that I can use, which, I mean, this is definitely something I can use. Let's Choice Band this Lele up. Breath of the Leaves for this Leafeon once again. And even though my opponent had 170 damage onto it, I am now back down to 70, and I will be able to one-shot the Tapu Lele with my Leafeon and take 2 prizes. So, I mean, really, I couldn't ask for a much better position, because what I have right here is I have the Guzmas. If my opponent tries to Guzma install, if my opponent ends, that means he can't Guzma, and my Leafeons will just be in the active spot. And this is, yeah, this is perfect. So what I'm going to do, well, Breath of the Leaves, with Breath of the Leaves this Leafeon so that it can be healed, and then energy up that Leafeon, Guzma up the Lele, that way my opponent can't try to play any other, can't try to play any stall games. If I knock anything out at all, I'm going to win the game. And would you look at that, my Leafeon is now completely healed. Let's go ahead and Solar Beam, knock out the Tapu Lele, and now I'm pretty sure we are at checkmate with my opponent, because there's pretty much nothing he can do. If he ends, like I said, that means he can't play Guzma. And if he does Guzma, I have a Guzma in my hand that I'd be able to play down in order to get my Lurantis, which I'm assuming is what he would try to bring active out of the active spot. And so my Leafeon will be able to take a knockout on something, and we will be able to win the game. So, I mean, admittedly, this first match was pretty type advantageous for us, but regardless, still able to pull out the victory. You know, I'm saying all this assuming that something absolutely crazy doesn't happen, but I mean, I didn't think it would, and he is just gonna go ahead and use Seedra's attack, and I win the game. So let's play the energy, just because Breath of the Leaves, just to clear all damage off the board, just so my opponent can have absolutely nothing to show for what he did this game. And then let's knock out the Seedra with the Leafeon and take home the game right there. That is yeah, that was a pretty solid game. Did we get close? Not quite. Ooh, wow, we did a ton of damage. Let's see, how much did we heal? We healed 250, and my opponent's damage dealt was 250, so we healed every single bit of damage that our opponent did to us. So that's pretty cool, not gonna lie. But yeah, that was a first game in which we had the type advantage, so I mean, I would hope we would win. Let's go ahead and see if we can try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against a Wygor Call with a Psychic, well, with a Psychic and Metal deck, so that's going to be interesting to see what type of deck we are up against. Luckily, we do win the coin flip, so we are able to go first. That is something that is, you know, always nice to be able to do, and I start off with, once again, a phenomenal hand. Wow. I mean, I'll be able to get an Eevee, 2 Fomantises out immediately, a DCE, a Choice Band, and then I'll be able to N for a brand new hand. So this is honestly everything I could ask for in a turn 1. So yeah, we're up against a Celesteela. Okay, so I mean, it's obviously a Metal deck. Could still be Metagross, but I would think that you'd see Water because of a Alolan Vulpix, and I'm just going to go ahead and attach a DCE. The Celesteela isn't in any position to be able to one-shot me, so I'm just going to go for that. I get a Brigette off of that, which is not the best. I'm going to try to... do I want to go ahead and play that? You know what? Let's go ahead and do that. Maybe potentially bait out the Field Blower a little bit earlier. I mean, I know that my opponent would probably just try to get rid of the Choice Band if he could. But otherwise... I mean, this way he'd be like, okay, I can get full use out of it. I'm just going to go for it. And at the very least, I mean, I still have the second Float Stone in my hand. We see the type Null come down, which means that my opponent is going to be running Silvally-GX, and it will be interesting to see... Yep, there's the Field Blower. So it'll be interesting to see if my opponent does, in fact, run the Fire Memory, which I know is out. So whether or not my opponent runs that and can draw into it, I think will be a very significant part of this match. I even top deck into the Leafeon, which is kind of nice. So let's go ahead and evolve my Eevee into a Leafeon. Okay, so there's 3 there. How do I want to play this? So obviously I'm going to evolve into my Leafeon. I was just taking a quick look through my deck to see what all was there, see what other choice bands there were. Let's evolve this one, and the question is, do I want to Brigette for the Fomantis, or do I just want to take my bets with Cynthia? I think I'm just going to take my bets with Cynthia, see if I can draw into something, and nope, draw into a couple more DCEs. That is exactly what I wanted. So we, I guess, are just going to go for the Solar Beam and the 2-hit KO on my opponent Celesteela. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I still get the 2-hit KO, but I just didn't draw into exactly what I would have wanted at this point in the game. I mean, I would have liked to have a couple Fomantises out, force my opponent into a couple other things. My opponent runs, throws down an Energy Lotto, just gets a Metal Energy, and okay, Moon Press is only going to be doing, actually won't be able to Moon Press this turn. So this is going to hurt, but if I can take out the Celesteela, I think I will actually be in a very good position. My opponent's clearly starting to power up the type Null. He's going to Ultra Ball, probably grab the Silvally, I would think. Yeah, I think he's going to grab the Silvally so that he can have, or at least get that thing going. Or he grabs a Tapu Lele, which is understandable as well. I mean, if he had a supporter in his hand, then he would have grabbed the Silvally, but if he didn't have a supporter, then Tapu Lele makes complete sense. And it's just a matter of what he grabs with the Lele. We just see a Sycamore, so my opponent is just going to Sycamore once again, get a completely fresh hand, throw some stuff in the discard pile. Yo, we do see the Fire Memory. Well, this will be phenomenal for me if I can draw into one of my Field Blowers, because if I do, and I'm able to get rid of that Fire Memory, that will actually be incredibly significant. But the fact that he is running Fire Memory is really, really bad. Like, that's horrible that he's running Fire Memory, because now he's going to be able to accelerate energy while being able to one-shot all my Leafeon, and so I'm really going to have to try to find a way to play around it. This isn't good. But yeah, we see the Silvally And he has the artwork from Ultra Prism, which I think, in my opinion, is the coolest artwork. I mean, that Silvally just kind of looks awesome. And he's probably just going to leave his Celesteela up to get... Or he just retreats out. That's fine, too. I won't be able to Oko the Lele. And, okay. So I have a play that... I could have a couple plays that I can make. I think what I'm going to do this turn is actually go for the Guzma to go ahead and put the Silvally in range of being knocked out by another Leafeon next turn. That way my opponent is forced to cycle in these Silvallis. Yes, I could take a knockout on the Celesteela, but I think it's smarter at this point in the game to try to knock out the Silvally, because that way... Because, I mean, okay, if I knock out the Celesteela, he comes in with Silvally, immediately knocks me out, and then I have to go into my Leafeon, which will not be able to one-shot him, and then he'll be able to knock that thing out. So by doing this, yes, I deny myself 2 prizes essentially this early, but at the same time, what I'm going to be able to do is put myself in a better position. So ultimately what I think this game is going to come down to is whether or not my opponent's able to draw into his Silvallis and Fire Memories, because if he is, then the fact that he's able to one-shot my Leafeon is something that I just don't think I will be able to play around. But if he's not able to do that, like if there's a turn where he does, and of course he draws into the... Well, I mean, I guess he probably would have gotten it off the Cynthia anyway. But I mean, if there's a turn where he does not get his Fire Memory when he needs it, then I will have a pretty good shot at potentially winning this game. I mean, that being said, I still have to draw into my Energy and Leafeon as well, but see, he is able to Turbo Drive, Accelerate Energy, and knock out my Leafeon. And he actually attaches to the Celesteela, which is great for me, because what I'm going to be able to do is promote this Leafeon, and this is exactly why I got the damage off, because now I'll be able to 2-hit KO it. So let's play that there. There's a Eevee and a Leafeon. Let's go ahead and rescue Stretcher. I think I'm just going to shuffle these guys back into the deck as opposed to grab the Leafeon. Play the Choice Band there. And let's end my opponent down to 4. Hopefully he doesn't draw into something, and hopefully I can get a Field Blower, which I do. That is really, really nice. And so, I mean, I get the Eevee. Unfortunately, I don't have any... draw supporters, but let's go ahead and Field Blower. Yeah, it gets rid of the Fire Memory, which I would get rid of anyway, but I need to get rid of that Choice Band off the Celesteela so that it cannot one-shot me if my opponent simply has an Energy, and then I'm going to hold off on the Choice Band until I need it. There we go. Leafeon is going to be able to knock out the Silvally, and now we're in a pretty solid spot. I really do think we are, because my opponent does not have a Silvally up. My opponent needs a Choice Band, a Silvally, and an Energy in order to be able to knock out my Leafeon. And so hopefully that end disrupted him enough. Well, there's the Energy, but I mean, that was to be expected. Plays the Fighting Memory onto Lele. And as long as my opponent does not draw into... Again, as long as my opponent does not draw into the... okay, so he needs Silvally and a Choice Band. He's going to Skyla for the Choice Band, which, I mean, that makes sense. And now as long as he does not get the Silvally off of this Instruct, if he gets Silvally off of these 2 cards, then that sucks, because then of course he got it. So, honestly, there is nothing I can do about that. Like, my opponent just being able to draw into exactly what he needs, that just sucks. And now he's going to be able to Blaster GX, knock out my Leafeon, and, oh boy. So, at least we can see what my opponent takes. I guess it really doesn't matter overall. He's probably just going to grab... I mean, there's a Sycamore, a Registeel, and Metal Energy, and then something else. So he's probably going to grab an Energy and a Sycamore is what I would think. So that's really bad. Like, that's awful. That's awful that my opponent was able to top deck into that. So now, because I don't have another Leafeon, I'm forced to promote a Lurantis. And if I can get a DCE, though, I will actually be in a really, really great spot, because all I have to do is just promote my Lele. and then I'll be able to knock out the Celesteela with Lele, take 2 prizes, and then we can just go from there. Like, it's just kind of mano a mano. At that point, my opponent would have nothing else set up, and we would just have to kind of go at it. So what I'm going to do is Lele for a Sycamore, and I need to draw into a DCE. If I don't, then I'm just in a horrible spot. Please. And I do not. Man, that blows. That really, really blows. That's so frustrating. Like, that's insanely frustrating that I just missed out on that, because otherwise I would have been able to knock out the Celesteela and take that thing out. But, I mean, there's nothing, honestly, nothing I can do at this point. Well, nothing I can do about that turn. I mean, I still have a chance to win. If my opponent just does not draw into his Fire Memory, then I have a very good chance to win, because I think one Leafeon can carry me the rest of the way. But unfortunately, I am not going to be able to take advantage of the turn that my opponent gave me, because if I had been able to take a knockout, could have knocked out the Celesteela, and then depending on whether or not my opponent drew into a... And depending on whether or not my opponent drew into, I guess, a Field Blower or something like that, then Lele could have started putting in work. My opponent would have been forced to promote the Lele, Oranguru, or his Silvally. And I could have taken care of one of those with my Lele. But the important thing is he would not have had a Silvally even close to set up. Like, it would have needed 2 attachments in order to be set up. And now he can get another KO with the Celesteela while powering up the Silvally in the back. And this honestly is just going horribly for me. Like, at this point, it's starting to go downhill. It started off really well, but that one turn where my opponent was able to instruct directly into a Silvally just kind of started a spiral. And I could Sycamore right now, which gets rid of a bunch of Guzmas, which I don't like to do, but I just need to. I need to top deck into something. Luckily, I get that DCE, because if I didn't get the DCE, then the game was literally over. Like, the game was just straight over at that point. Celesteela would have gotten enough damage off on something that Silvally could have KO'd, or if my opponent has a Fire Memory and a DCE in his hand, then that's what I have to go off of. So my opponent has 5 cards. I just have to hope at this point that he didn't just straight up draw into his Fire Memory. I could have gone the Lele route and knocked out the Celesteela, but I don't know, I just feel that Leafeon is going to be my best chance, because right here, if my opponent does not have a DCE and a Fire Memory, I can Guzma up the Lele, evolve the Fomantis into Lurantis, and win. But, okay, he has both, so I mean, that sucks. That really does suck. I mean, that's really just nothing we could do. My opponent top-decked everything perfectly, and the one time that we had an opportunity to make it a game right at the end, well, not the one opportunity we had, because it still was a very good game, and my opponent played incredibly well and ended up beating me. But I'm just saying, like, the turns that we needed to top deck into something, we did not get it. Like, those crucial turns, we did not get what we wanted. And on the similar crucial turns for my opponent, like, even on an Instruct, like, that bugs me just a little bit. Like, a 2-card Instruct, and he got the one thing that put him in the position that allowed him to knock out my Leafeon and ultimately have Celesteela just come through and take what eventually amounted to the win. So, I mean, that's frustrating, but there's nothing we can do about it. That is the TCG. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.